Hello everyone. Thank you so much for taking out your time and coming here to attend this online info session on UpGrad Entrepreneurship Certification Program, starting a new business. So today we have with us Mr. Harshmani Tripathi.
Hi.
So Harsh has been the co-founder of Pupil. It was a marketplace for corporate trainers where they could come and kind of present their offerings, which could in turn be used by corporates or individuals, whoever is in need. So that it was a startup which they worked, they had operations for about 2 years before it got acquired by UpGrad. And they've now joined the UpGrad team. So welcome, Harsh. And
thank you.
So the way the flow of this session is going to work is, in the first few minutes, we'll have Harsh take us through what are the key areas which need to be focused while you start up. What are some important pointers which you must not miss? Post which we will move into how the UpGrad Entrepreneurship Certificate Program is designed to help you start up your new business and take your idea to the next level, and finally take the plunge. Post which we will have a 15 to 20 minutes Q&A session. So as we proceed through the session, whenever you have any kind of questions, you will see a chat box on your right hand side. Just feel free to drop your questions there. And once you drop your questions there, we will definitely take them towards the end of the session. So this is more about the flow. So over to you, Harsh. We can probably start with the key areas of, to take care.
Thank you, Shreya. Thank you for the introduction. Hi there, everyone. So first of all, I would like to heartily congratulate all of you for thinking about entrepreneurship and taking the first baby steps in this direction. And I'll, as Shreya mentioned, I'll probably take you through the key facets, the key important pointers that you need to keep in your mind before you take the plunge. As you know, it's quite popular in the masses that it's one of the decisions which takes your life for an overhaul. It's so important for you to figure out how to do it right. And the sad part is that there's not a lot of knowledge available on in the free space. There's not a lot of knowledge available on what is right, what is wrong. It's so contextual, it's so deep, and all the time it needs to fit the context. But nevertheless, there are certain things which can be taught and can be learned, and I think this is one of the major things that a lot of entrepreneurs just miss out. Given the fact that entrepreneurs are very heavy on execution, they always believe in taking the jump and building the plane on the way. A lot of times this area gets neglected. There are a lot of things that you can actually learn, and it's not always the wise choice to learn from your mistakes, because mistakes often end up being very heavy on you, especially in the early stages of the journey. So I think the first key thing that I would want to start with is actually around the idea and identifying the problem. Now, in my experience, I've met a lot of early stage entrepreneurs through my journey and through several interactions. I think one thing that we really need to focus on is identifying the right pain point. A lot of times what happens is that the pain points that we end up identifying are very anecdotal in nature. We do not dwell a lot upon what is the exact problem. We do not observe, we do not go and talk to the customers enough. And what ends up happening is that execution bias takes up a lot of our energy, and we just go out and start executing. And by the time we sort of realize that, probably we have been burning our midnight oil on the wrong idea, on the wrong pain point, what happens is that we are in a sunk cost at that time, and it becomes very tough to roll back from that point onwards. So I think step one for any of you who's planning to start their own venture would be to just sit back initially and just brainstorm, just figure out what is the exact pain point that you want to solve for your customers. Defining that becomes all the more critical. So let us say I'll give you some anecdotal examples from what happened at Pupil with us. So in our journey, we pivoted about 3 times, and we started with the idea that we need to build this marketplace for education providers, and immediately we sort of jumped onto the fact that, okay, this has to be an LMS kind of solution, which can be used by online providers, and they would come and they would host their programs. We did not end up actually understanding the key pain points, which would be the real issues of the online course providers. And in turn, what happened was that we started executing, blah blah blah. Cutting the long story short, we hit a brick wall at about like 6 months down the line. We're like, okay, we've been solving the wrong problem all this while. So yeah, I cannot stress enough on the fact that how important it is to just sit back and figure out before you put in all the fuel on the all the energy on starting to build stuff.
Yeah, I think especially as you said, in early stage when you have limited resources, limited time, limited money, it's very important that every entrepreneur actually spends more time in talking to the customers or the users or who are your potential users, understanding them well before, and understanding the industry also perhaps well before you actually go and kind of put your time and effort in launching the product, so that you are on the right road.
And to my surprise, a lot of entrepreneurs do not end up doing that.
I agree.
I think, I don't know, this is my theory, that either they're very comfortable in doing what they know the best, and they don't often put in the effort to go out and understand their customer, or it's just something that they neglect over a very long period of time. They sort of come to believe that whatever they're thinking, their brain is somehow going to produce this hyper, $1 billion idea, and they just like dive in to start pursue it.
I think it's often also said, right? A lot of startup founders end up building what they think the customers want or users want, rather than building something which users actually want. And I think it's also like there are a lot of sayings, right, that entrepreneurs should actually believe in their idea. But then sometimes people they just end up believing in their idea so much that they forget that, okay, it's good to believe, but with some data, right?
Exactly. Like, I cannot put it any better than that. It's belief is important, but it has to be a rational belief.
Yeah, exactly.
So it has to have grounding and foundation in what our customer requires. In fact, there was this one recent study which was trying to analyze startup failures. And it turned out that about 67% of founders failed because they ended up building something that the market did not require.
Or
market never wanted. So I don't know, I cannot stress enough on the fact that how dangerous it is to be in this situation. And over time, this is something that hurts you the most. I mean, resources you can figure out over time, but I think this has that a kind of a spiral effect. It creates a ripple initially when you're starting out, which sort of hits you at a later stage. So another thing that from there, which I would want to sort of delve into, is most of the times a lot of founders have a very broad understanding of the market.
Got you.
So so something as simple as, okay, I want to build this social networking app for everyone. And I think that is a very major fallacy that all the early stage entrepreneurs go through, because what happens is that our inspiration comes from seeing things which are successful, right? But if you actually closely go and observe the path of those companies which have become successful, you would, I think, 99% of the times realize that they started with something very specific. They started with a very niche audience, and over time is when they figured out how to sort of reach this stage.
Got it.
So let's take the most popular example, Facebook. Facebook was a social networking app for college grads. It was started in Harvard, right? So I think the initial Facebook team was very focused on solving problems for their then customers, right? Which is when they actually figured out the key learnings, which is when they started like implementing all of those key learnings. And and that is how it starts. So this kind of leads me to the point that just exclaiming that this is such a big market without really understanding what is your addressable market at that point one, it creates a very major bias in your head. Second, it's a short path to failure.
Got you.
Right. So so I think this again becomes very important, and I think this has to be looked in both ways. One is that there has to be a top-down understanding of market sizing, and then there has to be a bottom-up understanding of how to sort of look at your market. And I think this is one of those key things that builds a lot of perspective in the entrepreneur. It goes a long way in terms of figuring out the business model, figuring out the right strategies, figuring out your marketing, your sales.
Yeah, and probably practical estimation of how you would be doing over the years.
Yeah, and what eventually ends up happening if this is not taken care of is that someone would come and say, I want to build Facebook.
Yeah.
And they would start with building something which is Facebook right now.
Yeah.
They would not think about building something which Facebook was at Harvard like in 2004.
I agree.
Right. So that is, I think, something that has to be taken care of, and it's very key and important to you defining further on how your startup is going to grow.
Yeah.
Then another thing is that I think there's a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to competition.
Yes.
Right. So what happens is that let's say if I'm building an electric car, I would just go out and say that, okay, there's no electric car company and I have no competition, right? But the thing is to understand that if you have been able to define your problem well, so let us say in case of electric car, the problem is commute, right? So your customer needs to commute from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Now, your customer probably has a local train, probably has a bicycle, probably has a motorcycle, probably has a scooter, probably has a metro train, probably has a flight to take.
Yeah.
So all of these things are your competition.
I agree.
And the moment we neglect that fact, it becomes really challenging for an entrepreneur to start to focus because it's very easy. And I think competition is one of those things which kills your business really quick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's this whole theory of how to build monopolies and why building a monopoly is the best form of business. I think it is all about how, if you can figure out how to navigate your competition, over the long run is going to be very, very beneficial for you.
I agree. And in fact, I think, just to add to your this thing, if your idea is really good and it's solving such a big pain point, I think someone else somewhere would also have realized that this is, a really big pain point and might be working on that. It's very rare that if your problem is really that big and if you're trying to solve it, there's no one else who is kind of working on it. Maybe someone from your own city might not work on it, but maybe someone in the other city who is eventually going to scale. Or, it's very important that instead of staying in your own world and defining that, okay, I have no competition at all, you better accept that, okay, these are my competitors, these are the features which they offer, and this is what I offer extra. And that's the reason, even if I have so much of competition, I am going to capture the entire market or whatever percentage of market.
Absolutely. So, so again, like doing that sort of analysis. Also, one of the things that I've personally observed, and which is very anecdotal, is that for some reason entrepreneurs hate competition. So they're just not ready to accept competition. They're like, no, this is not our competition. Because we are differentiated like this. I think the way to think about it could be that, imagine a customer's wallet, right? If a customer is buying X, instead of buying your service, then that X service is your competition. Right? Because that money that the customer has paid to that X service could have come to you. You're competing for that same bill. So I think that is one way that helps me structure, how to think about competition.
I agree.
I think during the program there are a lot of such elements which sort of teach you to analyze competition. This takes me to my next point, which is largely on understanding users. Now, this is another thing which I have seen like almost all of the entrepreneurs getting flawed out on. For some reason, we just don't spend enough time with the customers. And I think this is one activity that can change the whole game for you.
I agree.
So this whole, I think it also very tightly connects with understanding the pain point, defining that.
Yeah.
Because unless and until you sort of take your hypothesis to the customer and try to sort of deep dive into their situation, their circumstance, their pain, where they're facing the pain point. Until then, you do not have a feedback loop established. And I think understanding these feedback loops is the most important thing for any entrepreneur, because unless and until you get that feedback, you're not refining your ideas, you're not refining your strategies, you're not refining your approach to the problem. So, if there's one thing that I would suggest anyone to do while they're still thinking about the ideas, just like get out of the building, meet as many customers as possible. I remember during my third pivot, which is when like I had realized this much later in my journey, this is something that we haven't done enough. I was meeting about 3 companies every day for 45 days for figuring out what is the right learning and development solution for them. Similarly, we were meeting a lot of corporate trainers to figure out what are their pain points and how we can solve for them. I think that is one activity that really creates a very high value feedback loop for your ideas and your startup.
I think in fact this is the heart of any venture, right? Because unless you understand the user, unless you understand their pain point, you won't be able to build a product or a solution which they desire. And if you end up building something which they do not desire, they're not going to pay for it.
Absolutely.
So I think user centricity or user research or understanding their persona, understanding what they do on a daily basis, if you understand them well, you'll be able to figure out, okay, let's say if my typical user stays in some area where there's a MACD or is a frequent visitor of MACD, you know that, okay, you need to tie up with MACD and have some way in which you're going to, kind of promote your product there. Similarly, user research, if you do not do it, it can actually kill your startup to pretty much a certain extent.
A lot of times, I think just extending that point, a lot of times it's very important to even understand that whole value chain along with just the customer. So let's say, I'm starting an ice cream company. Right? For kids between like 5 to 10 years of age. I go and spend time with them. I realize that, okay, these are the kind of flavors they like. They like it this much sweet, right? This is the quantity of sweet. I realize all of that. I realize that, after ice cream, they want to have cola.
Got it.
Right? So that gives me another opportunity to sort of position my business, either eventually or initially. Now, it could be that you just get into the cola for kids business.
Maybe,
if you realize that, okay, there's a lot of competition in the ice cream business and, I'm not able to figure out the right solution. Probably I'll get beaten down. But there's nothing that exists in cola for kids, right? So why not take that up? So this is how I think this is the very foundation of, pivots and, how you sort of think about the learning loop. And I think learning is one of the key things that an entrepreneur needs to do. Probably hyper learning is the right word, because you need to learn every day, every single minute. And the maximum learning that you're going to get ever in your journey is from your customers. All the time.
I think, in fact, as you rightly said, user research is not just limited to when you start, right? It can be used to, kind of refine your existing product. It can be used to expand your business by identifying certain new areas which are interlinked. It can be used to pivot your idea. It has multiple uses and should be done at every stage before you start, while you are in operations. And I think, as you mentioned, it's a key to success for sure.
Then, moving on to the next point, which I want to highlight, is how important the team is for the entrepreneur. I think all of us know these statistics. It's been around for quite some time that 95% of startups fail because of co-founders not agreeing or co-founders fighting or splitting ways.
Yeah.
It's also one of the most challenging things to do. I think we as people are very bad at understanding other people,
Yes.
right? And this is one of the challenges that a lot of early stage entrepreneurs face, that they don't have co-founders, they don't have the right team members.
Yeah.
I think I, I don't think there's a very straightforward exact solution to that. But what I would really urge you guys to do is to be in circles where the smart people hang out. Uh, just do not approach them with the idea of that, be my co-founder. Do not preset that context. A lot of times doing that kind of builds a lot of biases in how you approach your co-founders and how you sort of strike that equation with them.
Yeah.
It is going to play a very major role in how your startup sort of progresses.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those key bridges which is burned is going to lead to the other side, which is failure.
Got you. Yeah, in fact, I think one way which I can suggest you can network is if you're in Bangalore, we do have a lot of offline events happening at UpGrad Exchange, which are related to variety of topics. Almost every week we have 2 to 3 events lined up there where folks come, industry experts come. It's a good place to network. I think besides this, there are certain meetup websites as well. Where there are regular meetups happening, so it's a very good idea to kind of go hang out there. And I think one thing which a lot of people miss is a lot of people just go and start with friends. But I think people do need to realize that your co-founder has to bring some different skill set to the table. I mean, you all cannot have the same set of skills and just run a company, right? It has to be a good balance of, if someone is very strong in business development, sales, marketing, the other has to be strong in product, for example, so that you have a wholesome team which can kind of work on the...
so I think I have a couple of points there.
Yeah.
One is that I think initially, especially in the days when you're feeling that kind of uncertainty which the startup brings on board, it's very important to find trust. And I think that is one of the key things why people get attracted to their friends, because those are the folks that they trust a lot. But at the same time, if the person does not have complementary skill sets, if you do not define that early on, that what is your role going to be, what is their role going to be, it can lead to a massive problem, not very sooner than later. Again, anecdotally, I've seen a lot of folks who are friends who've come together to do start a business, and they have no clarity on what their skills are, which direction are they going to head into, and eventually these confusions and these are the things that create conflict.
Yeah, and they kill.
And these conflicts are fatal to startups. So, and same another analogy that I always use for co-founders is that, let's say if your startup is a train, right? You need 2 engines or 2 or 3 engines. So the co-founders are the engines of the train. If you at any point feel that there's just one engine in the startup, then I think you're in the wrong spot. Or if provided if you're doing it with someone, if you're doing it alone, then yes, you have to be the engine. I would also say that if you it's better to do it alone than to do it in the wrong way, right? If you cannot find the right co-founder, it's not necessary that you get a co-founder and only then you are able to do it. You are better off starting out without a co-founder, and over time there could also be a way in which you can involve someone over time. It could be an early employee, it could be a friend who gets excited by the idea once you've already started doing it. There are many ways to attract people, but better be safe than being sorry at a later stage. Yeah. Yeah. So do you want to sort of move to the questions? Or?
Yeah. So what we will do is, I think Harsh has pretty much explained a lot of things, from idea validation to identification to validation to competitive analysis to user research to finding the right co-founders. And I think, pretty much after that, it's about kind of, building your product, or identifying the go-to-market strategy, what is your business model, and of course, how to scale your startup, which I think is the most burning question which every entrepreneur has, and how to get funds, for sure.
Just to sort of wrap that up, I think I would like to throw some light on that these things would happen eventually, but like scaling up, identifying the right go-to-market strategy, there are no like right and wrong answers to that. It's very contextual. You have to have a very deep understanding of your business. But if the foundations are taken care of, if you're meeting your customers, if you have the right team in place, if you're able to like really figure out the pain point, all of these things would come. I mean, there is definitely a learning curve, which you need to traverse. But I would like stress on the fact that the foundations need to be there. You can change everything about the organization at a later stage. You can change the business model. You can change the product strategies. But one thing that you cannot change is the founding of the organization. So, yeah, I can't stress enough on the fact that how important that is. The rest would come to you. There is a learning curve for that. Probably, you need to be a good learner. You need to be like focused on picking all of those things.
Yes, I agree. So we have a couple of questions. So what I'll do is, Dilip, Ronak, Harish, Saurav, and Mehtesh, we will take your questions towards the end of the session. Before taking your questions, I'll run you quickly through, what is the UpGrad Entrepreneurship Certification Program exactly, how have we built it, and how is it bound to help you in your journey of starting a business, right? So now that we know what are the key pillars for starting a business, let's quickly move to what UpGrad Entrepreneurship Certification Program has.
Can you see
Okay, guys, give me just a minute. Okay, so I think the screen is visible to you guys. So I'll quickly run you through what the UpGrad Entrepreneurship Certificate Program has to offer. So this is a 8 weeks program which we have designed in collaboration of top 40 entrepreneurs of the nation. What do you expect from this program? So you should expect a personalized industry mentorship. So throughout the program, one thing which we need to make sure, but one thing which we definitely make sure is, let's say you have an idea in healthcare sector, or you have an idea in an edtech sector, or you have an idea in e-commerce sector. So we make sure that you are mapped with the right mentor, and as you are mapped with the right mentor who belongs to your own industry, we will connect you with that particular mentor for around 2 mentorship sessions, which would be over a telephonic call, which would last for 30 minutes each. So as a result of these mentorship sessions, you will be able to network with your mentor. He would be a senior professional who has done something like you before. And B, you will be able to learn from his learnings. As Harsh rightly mentioned earlier, a wise man learns from someone else's mistakes rather than learning from his own mistakes, right? Next, you will get an opportunity. So every every thrice a year we hold something called as UpGrad Startup Showcase Day. Now, what happens at this particular day? If you are selected, you get a chance in which you can present your idea to the incubators. Incubators as well as a jury of industry experts. That's how we call it, right? So, in the program, you basically learn how to make your own elevator pitch. Once you have learned how to make your own elevator pitch, if you get selected for the startup showcase, then you can come here and present your idea to incubators. That way, you'll get a good feedback on your on your on your pitch, and you'll be ready before you actually go and present your idea in front of investors. And in case you're looking to kind of join an incubator or something, nothing like it. You can actually network with them, and if they like you, they might take things forward with you, right? And of course, there's something called network and collaborate. So since November 2015, we have already trained almost 700 plus entrepreneurs, and counting even more. So you can actually network and collaborate with your fellow professionals, entrepreneurs. We have a huge network of alumni where you can collaborate with. Now, let me tell you what program features does this program offer. So it's an online program which has 35 plus hours of content. You need to give around 6 to 8 hours of your time per week. Now, when I say 6 to 8 hours per week, what happens is typically in the 6 to 8 hours, you can either devote 1 hour per day, or you can devote, let's say, 3 to 4 hours on Saturday, 3 to 4 hours on Sunday. And what basically happens is, let's say from the 6 to 8 hours, you'll have 2 hours of recorded videos, and then you'll have assignments and case studies to solve. Our motto is, we don't just want to teach you theory. We don't work on a university model where you just are taught theory, irrespective of the fact whether you can implement it or not. The entire idea is to teach you theory and make you apply it on your own idea. For example, if we teach you how to do market sizing using a bottom up as well as top down approach, we give you an assignment where you have to market size your own idea, submit the assignment. The assignment would be graded by in-house experts. You will receive a report with details on, have you taken the right approach? Is this the right way? So that you know if you're heading in the right direction or not. And this also ensures that by the time you move ahead in the course, you do have applied all the theory which we taught you in practice, and you have certain answers with regards to your own idea. The entire point of this program is to give you a personalized feedback and help you move ahead in your journey. In order to facilitate this, we also arrange certain live lectures and live meetups where you can collaborate with your peers and with a couple of industry experts, and you can get some of your doubts solved. Just to give you an example, we had a live lecture yesterday with Mr. Pawan Soni. He's an innovation evangelist, and he was discussing with our students, with the entrepreneurship program students, about how to go about monetizing your startups, what are the various strategies, etc. And there were quite a few students who had a lot of doubts around the same, and they got their doubts cleared by Mr. Pawan, Dr. Pawan himself. Besides this, throughout the program, the way the program moves forward is basically in the first week you learn about idea assessment and customer and competitor analysis. As you move forward, you learn how to do market sizing, do it on your idea. Then you go ahead and choose the right business model. So we will tell you, what are the different elements of a business model canvas, which business model is the most suited to your idea. Post which we go forward and teach you the most important part, which is user research and idea validation. So we teach you how to conduct user interviews, how to design the questionnaire, how to interpret the user interviews, which is really important, and which is something where a lot of people struggle with, right? So the idea is you learn how to do user research, you define your target audience, you go do your user research. Then we also teach you, instead of going and building an app and testing the beta version in the market, why don't you first just create a simple landing page? There are certain softwares called InstaPage, etc., where you can create simple landing page, explain all the features of your product, go test it in the market using various methods like organic methods like emails or using Facebook ads, etc. And just get some data from the users whether they are willing to pay for your program or not, or whether they are willing to pay for your product, for your service or not. So user research and idea validation is one of the most important, most crucial part of your startups. And so by the end of 6 weeks, you have a clear answer if you can go ahead with your idea in the same direction, or do you need to pivot your idea. As Harsh rightly mentioned, they pivoted their idea in Pupil quite a few times, but that did take them a lot of time because they did user research slightly later on in their journey.
Yeah.
So he has already shared that with you so that you do not make the same mistake again, right?
Yeah.
So, and once you're done with this 6 weeks, we don't want to leave you just with an answer to, what your business model is and that you need to move forward. We will provide you with adequate amount of content related to how to design a detailed B plan, how to basics of building your team, what are the various channels in digital marketing, which one should you utilize, how to run Facebook ads, etc. Will give you the legal foundations, knowledge on legal foundations, will give you knowledge on basics of finance. We will also give you tips on fundraising as well as valuation. So the last 2 weeks, you would be given a lot of content. In the last 2 weeks, it won't be 6 to 8 hours of learning. The content which is provided is slightly on the higher side. We have provided you with so much of content because all this content is very important, and hence you can, for the first 6 weeks, you will have deadlines for submitting assessments, etc. But in the last 2 weeks, we will give you with all the additional content required to launch your startup, which you can access for 1 year post the completion of the program, as and when you need it. For example, after the first 6 weeks, once you have an idea, if you can proceed with the idea in the same direction, you would, as you start building a product, you can go read about MVPs. As you start marketing, you can go read about digital marketing. As you kind of set up your team, you can read about that particular module, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So in a gist, this program will get you ready to kind of start your own business and take the plunge. We do have a lot of success stories around the program which we have been doing. We have seen people like the co-founders of Immovidu have been from here. Textile Basket is another startup which one of our students has kind of launched. So we have seen quite a few startups which have been already launched using after taking this particular program. And so basically, these are some of the stats which you can see. So 50% of the students reported that they moved from idea validation to scaling up their ventures after taking this program. 88% of the users after taking this program realize that they need to pivot their business idea model. So this is one very important stat. And 48% of our students have launched their product or services within 6 months of taking the program. So 91% of the people felt that the program has definitely helped them succeed, and 75% people felt that UpGrad was a great contributor as a guidance and support system. As far as the mentors are considered, I'm sure you must think that, okay, one-on-one mentorship, pretty great, but what about the mentors who are there, right? So if you want details regarding this, we have, let's say if your idea is in e-commerce, we have people from Myntra, we have people from Flipkart, and some more e-commerce companies. Of course, we can't put all the logos here as it would be just a colorful poster. But these are like some major companies wherein we have mentors from. These would be senior people who have worked in these companies who would guide you on your particular idea. So as far as the details of the batch are considered, the batch starts on 24th of June, and the price of the program is INR 32,000 plus taxes. You will have to register for the program soon because we have a limited number of seats. My colleague Bhavik will, if you have any questions, you can reply back on an email ID, which is bhavik.c@upgrad.com or startup@upgrad.com, and we should get back to you shortly. This is more about it. For any more details, you can see two other email IDs mentioned here. I am Shreya. You can also reply back to shreya.kothari@upgrad.com, or you can reply on startup@upgrad.com. And this is more about what the program is and how can the program help you. So now we will quickly move to the question and Harish has basically mentioned what is the meaning of pivoted from business point of view.
Okay.
So,
hi Harish, thanks a lot for asking that question. So, like foundationally, pivot comes from the fact it's a basketball game if you've ever seen, and a person has the ball, it's going in one direction, and he sees that there's a blockage in that direction. With that 1 foot, he would like change the direction, right? So, in the business context, it is largely to do with uh, changing your direction. Now, changing your direction of the business could come in many flavors. So one is that your users have now changed. So you've been building this product and you realize that okay, this is I'm building for the wrong users, and this segment of the users works better for me. So that is one kind of a pivot. Your business model has changed. So initially you thought that okay, this could be a wonderful marketplace solution, but eventually over research, over meeting your customers again, you realize that this is probably the business model that is going to suit better. So that's a business model pivot. So there could be a strategy pivot. So largely, all in all, it is about changing direction. It could be something that is very drastic, something that requires a lot more resources, uh, versus something that is minute in nature. So let's say a product pivot is generally if you have an in-house team and you're building a tech product, it would be less resource intensive. But let's say if you want to change the business model and you have a functional business already, that might require a lot more energy to change that direction.
got you.
Yeah.
I hope Harish you got your answer. If not, you can actually just type back another follow-up question. We will definitely take your question. Next, we have a question from Amit. He's saying, greetings. Okay, Harish, thanks. We got to know that you got the
Thank
answer
you.
and we are happy that you got it. So Amit has a question. Amit is saying, greetings, what are the measure of success that UpGrad monitors for this certification program, and how is that trending for the last 3-4 batches? Okay, so for us, I think the success, as I mentioned, is more of how many people kind of actually take their venture forward. What do you, A, B is how many people are benefited from the mentors. So we actually do a survey mid as well as end of every program which we provide, wherein we measure the user satisfaction and what do they think. And believe me or not, we actually receive like WhatsApp texts as well as emails from students themselves mentioning like, okay, I really benefited from the mentorship session. This program kind of helped me kind of move from my idea stage to a further stage. And we have also received a lot of people who have sent us messages saying that, after this program, I realized had I directly gone and built my product, I would have kind of wasted my resources, and I need to do some more user research and think about pivoting my idea before I go forward. And in case you wish to talk to any one of our previous students, you can actually write back to us and we can connect you to one of our previous students, and you can actually have a talk with them and get like a first hand opinion on how has it benefited them. As far as the numbers are considered, these are the numbers in which we kind of measure the impact, as I mentioned earlier. So these are a couple of numbers for your perusal, which you can kind of have a look at.
Screen shares. You share.
Yeah. So basically, 91% of our people have felt that this program has definitely helped them, and 88% of the people have pivoted their existing business model, post this particular program. So that is more about it. I hope this I hope this has answered
And
your question.
Just to add to what
Yeah.
Shreya said, I think another major thing that sort of helps you through the program is the pitch, the pitching sessions, the networking opportunities. You cannot directly allot a metric to that because it has a different kind of an effect later on in your journey. So I think that's also something that you should be looking to grab onto.
Yeah.
Program. And we move to the next question.
Yeah. So we have Chirag. Chirag is asking, what should be the approach while looking for funds and investors?
Yeah. So I think this is a question that comes up
Everyone has.
very often. How to raise money? How to approach investors?
Yeah.
So I think how I like to answer this question is that there are two parts to it. One is that ideas don't get funded, businesses do, right? So I think your first focus has to be on building a business. If you just think that you have this great idea and you are at no other stage of the business and you want to raise funding, the answer would be a straight away no. You're not going to get any money from anyone. Probably you can go and ask your mom and dad and they might also refuse. So yeah, so if you want to really like raise money, first focus on building the business. Now, I understand a slightly paradoxical situation where you would say that, okay, if I don't have the money, how do I go out and do things? Uh, so I want to remind you that you eventually want to be an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurs generally are resourceful. And by that I mean that even if you don't have the monetary resources in place, you can figure out ways to do things.
Yeah.
Whether it's about building products, there are multiple ways of like testing out your ideas. Your customer accessing your customers, there are multiple ways to do that. So I would say just go and do that first. If you have a business in place, trust me, the funding is going to come through. It is not going to happen that you are building a business which is viable, which is getting traction. If it's a tech product, it is getting revenues. If it's either a tech or a. So if you're able to build a business, the funding is going to fall through. Investors generally like to see a very strong indication that this is a business. This is not just a college project, right? So if you're able to convince investors on the fact that this is a business that I'm building, most of the investors are going to be happy about investing their money into your business. Yeah. Now, that context that, what kind of investors like to invest in what kind of things, that's slightly different. And I would not want to delve into that right now. But I think the key to raising money is to just focus on your business, just focus on your work, and build that well. Yeah. And once you have that in place, then you approach investors. Yeah. The second part is actually about approaching investors. There are many ways to do it. One is that you break into networks. So a lot of people say that, I don't have access to networks. It is not tough to break into networks. I think this is just a lot of apprehension that we generally have. I think 4 out of 5 people, if you write them a strong, good email, are going to respond to you at some point. If they do not, then I think in this day and age, there are like plethora of events happening where everyone is so approachable. The playing field has been leveled to a good degree. Yeah. And I think you should look to harness that. Yeah. So the step one is build a foundationally strong business. The step two is once you have that in place, once you really know what your story is, once you really know what your pain point is, what you're planning to build, and you have that figured out, then you start the activity of approaching investors.
Yeah, I think traction is one of the best ways to prove your idea to anyone, because there's a popular saying, I don't know if you have heard about it, but they say, in God we believe. Everyone else has to provide us with data. I mean, if God is something, well and good, but everyone else, any normal person, he has to get some data, and traction is one of the best data. Yeah. Look, I have this product and people are already using it, or, I built this landing page which explains what my product is going to be doing. And it has actually interested people, and we have, let's say, 100 inbound inquiries and 20 people have already, kind of moved forward with. So, yeah, I think we have one question by Harish, which is very interesting. he has mentioned how to get feedback and contacts for a very niche product that is not consumed by general public. This is, I think, a very interesting question. If you want to,
So Harish, thanks again for asking this question. I think the moment you talk about a niche product, I think getting and contacts and feedback becomes really important, because just by the fact that you're building something for a very niche audience, is a niche audience would always be limited in number. One good thing about a use case like this is that you're closer to actually hitting it off with them, because your assumptions are lesser. There's less variance in the kind of people that you're going to meet. Now, how to do that? I think that's pure hustle. There are so many social media tools available for reaching out to people. There's nothing that you cannot Google and find in this day and age. I think the answer to that is just like hustle hard. If you want to meet a certain person in a enterprise, just go on LinkedIn, message them, write them an email. If you're building an enterprise product, go to conferences. If you're, let's say, building something for the HRs of organizations, go to these HR conferences. If you're building something for CMOs of organizations, go to these marketing conferences. So I do not think that if you hustle hard, you will not be able to crack it. But I think it's all about like putting different tools together, putting different approaches together, and just clubbing it to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, I get your point, and in fact, I think I'll just give you an example. While we were building our product management program, it's again a niche set of audience, which is product managers, which are now increasing, but there are only a couple. So I think for the user interviews and user feedback, we did all possible measures to kind of connect to product managers via LinkedIn, or go to some tech park, actually sit in the cafeteria and kind of see if you can get to talk to some product managers. And if nothing of this is working for you, you can actually run a Facebook ad, mention what you're trying to do, and you will surely get certain leads. And if you don't get any leads via Facebook marketing also, trust me, I'm not sure if you're targeting the right audience, because that's where you're going to get leads in future as well, right? So you can actually make a simple landing page, mention your features, etc., and just ask people to kind of inquire, leave their details to get more info. Talk to these people, refine your offering, and then kind of go ahead with it. I think that's one of the easiest way of going. It would be kind of running Facebook marketing, Facebook ad campaign, because Facebook gives you the flexibility of targeting people basis their age, basis their occupation, basis their city, and a lot of other designation, a lot of other parameters as well.
And that's also one of the things on how you sort of test your ideas, that you build these MVPs, which are very like frugal, and you sort of test it out through them. Facebook, yes, it is very effective, but it might require some initial capital. But at the same time, as I said, if you actually go out and reach out to people via all these various tools that are available today, you're going to be getting some leads in for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we have another question here, where Dilip is asking a very interesting question, which is how to get an idea and from where.
Yeah, so I think it's a very valid question. Like how to get ideas. Like I've been hearing about these startups. I've been hearing about these successful companies which are doing this great business.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling with that question, the obvious answer that I would give you is that just sit back and observe your day, like your own day-to-day activities.
Yeah.
And just probably take a journal and write down where all you are facing problems in your life.
Yeah.
Right? So you went, you got ready. In that whole journey, did you feel that something was missing, something which was your personal pain point? You're going for work, you're not able to get a taxi in time.
Yeah.
So that's how Uber's idea sort of originated in the first place.
I think a lot of ideas do originate from your personal experiences.
And especially consumer ideas, like the proper consumer ideas. I think that is one of the best use cases to pick, because if you are facing that problem, then you become your first customer, and it's really very easy for you to connect with yourself instead of going out and like talking to many other customers. So that is definitely one way in which you just journal all the problems that you face in a day. do that for over a month, and I'm sure you'll have like not one but like 20, 25 ideas to start with. Other resources, I'm not sure, because see, there's a tricky bit here that you might get an idea, but if there is no idea and founder match, then I would strongly suggest that you do not go ahead and execute it. Because it's not just about getting an idea, but it's also about getting an idea which you are passionate about and you can go out and execute that in the market. So yeah, so you have to be slightly careful of that, because a lot of ideas, when they come from outside inspirations, reading books or seeing someone else do it or seeing a competition do it, it generally ends up being a case where the founder is doing it for the wrong reasons and is not passionate enough about the idea. And if that is the case, then yeah, I would like strongly advise against going down that path. So you're better off realizing something that a problem that you face. It could be a business problem. It could be, if your dad runs a small business, you can just go to him and probably journal that also. So the closer you are to the idea, the better it is.
I think I hope that answers your question. Harish, I do see you have some follow-up questions. So what we will do is we'll connect with you offline so that we take your questions individually. I think there's one very interesting question which has been asked by Shashi. What he's saying, for manufacturing startup in a farm equipment, how to validate a prototype which costs like 10 lakhs, and is there any other way to test this?
Very interesting. So I think this is one use case which is very tricky, which gets very tricky, that if until unless I build something, I'm not able to validate it. I think if I were in that position, I would go about it in a very different way. Probably what I would do is that I would first go to my customers and pitch them that machine. Let's say you're building this irrigation machine, right? Is it the agri?
It's a farm.
It's a farm.
A farm.
So let's say you're building this irrigation machine. I would go and I would go to the top-notch farmers who have a lot of land under them, and I would say, guys, I'm going to build this, and this is how it is going to help you. Now I need about 10 lakhs in building the first prototype. Can you pitch in a lakh out of it, right? And I will give you these benefits against that 1 lakh investment. So now there are two things that are happening. One, you're getting your initial customers. Second, if these people are ready to put in the money, then you're definitely creating value for them, right? And third, you're actually reaching out to the customer in a way that if there is a feedback, if there are certain things that he doesn't want, he or she can immediately give you that feedback and say that, okay, you know what, I don't want the irrigation machine to be running continuously for 5 hours. I think 2 hours would do a good job for me. So you start to understand the pain points as well, right? So I think that is a good way. That is one of the ways in which you can sort of go out and do it.
I think this is what I generally call as a landing page test. But in your case, since it's farmers, of course, I don't know if all the farmers are going to be that tech savvy to kind of see your landing page. But what you can do is you can list down all the exact benefits. You can even mention the diagram of the machine which you're trying to kind of build, right? Because the diagram is definitely not going to cost you a lot.
And if not the diagrams, you can also build like models.
Like a
you can use like CAD tools. You can do simulations. You can build like graphical videos. So there are a lot of high fidelity tools that are available today that you can actually like help the other person realize or visualize what is exactly what you're building.
And once you have that visualization, then you can go about approaching farmers. You can just print it out, take your laptop there, show it them, and then see if they are willing to pay for it.
And you can also do a 3D printed model today, right?
Actually, that's one of the best things that you can do. You can just build a small 3D model out of it, just explain them all the benefits, and if they say they are ready to put money in it, you have actually already tested your idea, right? Because that's the entire point of testing your idea is just to go and see if your users are going to pay for that particular service, that particular equipment, and is it solving something for them. And if someone commits that he will be paying for it, then it's definitely that it's solving some pain points in their life, right? So
Yeah.
I hope, Shashi, that answers your question. If it doesn't, you can also post any follow-up questions if you have, and we are surely going to kind of we are surely going to take your questions. Any other question? I think there are
Yes.
a couple of questions around funds, but I think we have already covered the funding aspect of
Amit
it.
has asked something on the measure of success.
I think, yeah. I think Deepak has a reply. Okay. So I don't think there are any other questions except Marjin has a question, which is how to validate idea for blogging online. I think this is a slightly
Yeah.
confusing question. I appreciate if you could kind of elaborate it. Because,
I think if Marjin, hi, thanks a lot for asking this question. If you're asking about that you want to start a blog and you want to validate that idea, please respond. Let me sort of answer that. If that is the thing that you're concerned about, then I think you should just go and blog.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to write, if you want to figure out what kind of content works for you, just like write 5 articles, 5 blogs, which are 5 different pieces of content, and see which is the one that's getting the maximum traction.
Yeah.
So that would be the easiest way to sort of figure out. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, if and over time figure out if you want to like monetize your blog via, let's say, ads, etc., then that would be another very good metric. Because reading is one thing, but the kind of audience that actually comes to your blog and clicks on an ad is something completely different. So if that is your monetization strategy, then I would suggest that it's very straightforward. Just go write these 5 different blogs on 5 different ideas, 5 different types of content, and just test them out using like some basic analytics tools.
Yeah, I think blogging is a very, very good way of kind of monetizing these days, because a lot of startups, a lot of big companies, they do look for to target relevant audience. And let's say if your blog has really good content, for example, a blog which is let's say on data analytics, if they have really good content on and they have frequent visitors, there are high chances that data analytics firms or data analytics program offerings, whoever offers such programs, they will just go and kind of help. I mean, use your database to kind of promote their programs or promote their offerings, etc., etc. So yeah, I mean,
that's saying that it's going to be about the topmost corporate companies. So yeah, it's irrespective of the content that you're trying to cater to. You might want to write about the topmost corporate companies or their executives or their business models, whatever it be. I think the most straightforward way would be to actually start and do it.
Yeah.
No time.
Yeah, and just monitor the traffic and see, what are the demographics.
You can use Google Analytics. There are a lot of freely available analytics tools.
Yeah.
I mean, I would also suggest that if you are planning to monetize it via ads, then there are a lot of these, different strategies that work for ad tech specifically. You can generate leads for those companies, or you can just pure and simple do advertisement for them. All of these strategies are going to make money for you.
Yeah. So I think this is more about it. We have pretty much covered everything, tried to answer all your questions. We sincerely hope that this session was insightful to you, and you are satisfied with the answers to your questions as well as the information regarding the program. If there was any inconvenience caused during the Infosession, we would be happy if you share your feedback, and we will definitely kind of incorporate it in our next Infosession. As far as the program is considered, the UpGrad Entrepreneurship Certification Program starts on the 24th of June 2017, and it's priced at INR 32,000 plus taxes. So if you want to enroll for it, if you want to start your new business, you can just go ahead and kind of enroll for the program. This is more about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thanks a lot. And if you have any follow-up questions, anything, I'll be more than happy to take it up.
Yeah.
So you can write to me or Shreya.
Yeah. Just write at startup@upgrad.com, and we'll forward to relevant people. We'll forward it to Harsh, and definitely he'll be happy to answer those questions.
Yeah. And if required, if you are really confused about certain things, I can also come on a call with you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
So please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, please feel free to reach out, and yeah, we are here to help you in your entrepreneurial journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you.